The NHL Board of Governors have voted unanimously to approve the 32nd NHL franchise to the city of Seattle. So we will be having expansion once again. All the news we've been talking about is now official. We'll discuss all the news from the press conference coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, the NHL has voted unanimously to vote in the city of Seattle as the NHL's 32nd franchise. Now this doesn't come as a huge surprise, as we've been talking about here for a while. It's been fully expected that Seattle would be granted that expansion team. They are in pretty good shape with ownership, arena. They did a ticket sale drive. Everything has gone very favorably for the city, and now it's finally official. They will become the NHL's 32nd franchise. Now there's already been lots of speculation this morning around what the team name might be called, but they're certainly a ways off from making that decision. They will discuss that amongst themselves as ownership group, and apparently they will involve the fans in some capacity as well to determine the team name. Obviously they have to think about trademark, branding, and they did say that they kind of wanted to create something that was going to be a well-known international brand. So we'll see what they go with. That's a story for another day, but of course, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below in the comment section. What do you think they should name this new Seattle franchise? There certainly have been lots of great suggestions in all the different Seattle videos that we've made here since it's been, a topic of discussion in the last number of months. So certainly leave me your thoughts down below and we can continue that discussion further. Now here's some other things that we kind of learned from this major announcement from the NHL here today. Now of course, not only are they going to be expanding, but it is going to be a season later than was previously discussed. As we mentioned last night on our Twitter account, which you may or may not have caught, the NHL did approve the city of Seattle to become the 32nd franchise starting in 2021. Now, leading up to now and last night, we've kind of been led to believe Seattle really wanted to come in for this for the 2020 season. They felt they'd have their arena in place and be ready to go, but the NHL is more comfortable with the 2021-2022 season start time. So of course, as I mentioned in yesterday's video discussing the fact that this likely was going to all come down here today, it certainly was confirmed that Seattle will go into the Pacific Division, which is not a surprise at all. And they also confirmed for the realignment here that the Arizona Coyotes will be moving over to the Central Division. Obviously, this is all a few years down the road, but when that time comes for Seattle to enter the league, the Coyotes will be part of the Central Division. They put the Seattle team in the Pacific, and everything will all be evened out by division and by conference. Gary Bettman was asked in the press conference as well if he foreseen the NHL expanding any further beyond 32 teams, and all he really commented was that not right now, that the NHL seems content at 32. Obviously, the Seattle team will be a few years before they come into the league, and certainly things can change. As I mentioned before in previous videos, it's been widely discussed over a number of times over the years about the possibility of expanding to Europe, and of course there are some other cities within North America as well that could certainly take on an NHL team, but that very well could be part of a relocation plan or whatnot. But as we know, the NHL prefers not to move franchises if they can all help it. So all those other cities, I guess we'll wait for another day. But for right now, the NHL is content to stay at 32 teams for at least for the foreseeable future here. So since the city of Seattle's team will be coming into play for the beginning of the 2021 season, they will be holding the expansion draft earlier that summer in June of 2021. Now, of course, just a reminder that the Vegas Golden Knights will not be a part of that expansion draft, so they will not have to protect players and make anybody available as part of that. So that was one of the conditions when they came into the league. And Seattle will likely get the same if the NHL does, for any reason, decide to expand within a few years after the fact. Of them coming into the league, likely would happen the same way. But Vegas will not be part of that expansion draft. So Golden Knights fans, you don't have to worry about your team losing anybody when Seattle enters the league, but all the other teams will certainly face the same type of rules that they had when Vegas came into the league. So Bettman did confirm the expansion rules will be pretty much the same for the expansion draft. So same amount of players for protection and whatnot. If you're any players who have no move clauses will have to be protected as well, or be asked to waive just like before. So really nothing will change when it comes to that. Now, as far as why 2021 instead of 2020, the main reason for that the NHL has put forth here publicly is that they were more comfortable with when the arena would be up and running here and be ready to go. Of course, that gives Seattle extra time to get their management team in place, gives them that much more time to scout players and be ready for the expansion draft and get themselves to be as prepared as possible so they can be as successful as possible. So all in all, I do think it's a good thing. But here's a couple other quick little notes around that as well, which I certainly think probably were factored in, just not discussed publicly. Now, of course, as we know, the current CBA agreement between the NHL and the NHL Players Association is something that's not too far off from expiring, and both the NHLPA as well as the NHL have an out clause that either of them can trigger here coming up in September of 2019. The NHL has the first one early in the month, and then the Players Association have their option around the middle of September. So before the 2019-2020 season starts, we are going to know if either side has exercised that out clause. Now, if either side does, then the 2019-2020 season will be the final season under the current labor agreement between the two sides. So that also leads us to the possibility that if they couldn't come to a new agreement on a new working agreement, that possibly at the beginning of the 2020 season, there very well could be a work stoppage. So obviously the NHL wouldn't want to have a potential work stoppage around the time a new team was coming in. That would be very bad for business in a variety of ways. Now, of course, if neither side triggers that out clause, then the current CBA would be set to expire after the 21-22 NHL season. So at that point, Seattle would already be in the NHL, be part of the league, and have their inaugural season completed. So 2021, in my opinion, is also a very safe season for them to come in so that there's no potential work stoppage or labor disputes that could very well enter into the mix here for when they come into the league. So I do think that the start date for the Seattle franchise, that might have played a role. Now, of course, there is legitimate concerns over the arena being really tight on time and being ready for the beginning of the 2020 season anyway. So when you combine that with the fact about the CBA, it certainly just seems all in all, for all reasons involved here, the safer way to go here is with a 2021 NHL debut for the Seattle franchise. So there you have it. The NHL expansion to Seattle is finally official as of the 2021-2022 season. We will have a 32-team NHL league. So, of course, I'd love to hear your comments down below. Do you see a Vancouver-Seattle rivalry being a really good thing for both cities and being good for the NHL, just like we have the Battle of Ontario and the Battle of Alberta? And, of course, as I mentioned earlier as well, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments around what maybe the team name should be. There's all kinds of ideas being floated around, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up before you go. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.